Coming back to your being a responsible company, what is important here, like you said, in the fashion, you are definitely helping people buy things. Probably most of the time they don't need it. Actually, they want it.
That's I don't what. No, they need it.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, like, but then, like you said, we have to bring in the culture of being responsible at every level. Now, there are certain people working within your company, certain things happening within your company, but then there are parts of your product line. There's a supply chain part of it. You are to source the products and then get it shipped to the place and all that. So how do you manage all this responsibility and the idea and the core values at the supply chain level?
Well, first of all, it's prioritized within the organization, meaning that, we hired our first head of responsibility in 2016, which was well before people were actually putting resources behind this. So, that immediately, once you have people working full time to encourage the company to be more responsible, it immediately becomes a bigger priority, right? So 2016 was when we hired our first sort of team, and that team has been growing since. We initially were carbon mapping and carbon offsetting, which is when, so you're mapping your carbon, I'm sure mapping your carbon, and then you are, paying a bill at the end of the year, right? You pay a bill, and that money is going toward a project that is supposed to reduce carbon emissions somehow. It's really like pay to play. I mean, I really hate it. So what we started doing was carbon insetting. Which is when we are trying to reduce our carbon footprint across every touch point across the brand. A real tangible way that I could give you an example is this year we will supply and pay to have solar panels installed at some of our key factories and manufacturing plants so that they can actually be using solar power and to reduce their carbon. That's a very obvious and tangible way. We're also reducing our plastics and our plastic consumption. There's no new plastic being put through our company. By the end of 23, we'll be doing no more virgin animal leather. So everything will be recycled leather or leather alternatives like grapes, mushrooms, mycelium. All of these sort of we call them fabrics of the future. So that's another way that we're reducing. Another point that I think is really helping us get to the next level is that we have responsible fabrics. And for us, that means that at least 50% of our fabrics are either organically made or they're made of recycled fibers, so that we're not actually producing and making new fabrics. Because that's where the most of your carbon, once you map, is in the production of new fabrics. So if you can reduce that down so that you're making that the majority of your fabrics are actually recycled, you're making a massive impact. So that for this season coming up, we'll have almost 90% of all of our fabrics will be responsibly made, meaning recycled or organic. So that's already a massive reduction for us. So it's really, when we say responsible, it's really, and carbon insetting, it's really about making lots of different changes across all different levels of the company to make a big impact, rather than, writing the check at the end of the year and being like, okay, now we're sustainable, So that's the sort of difference I think that we're seeing. And that's the big change that we've made within the organization the last, 3, 4, 5 years.